Oh. Hello and happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to my review of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, so I figured why not review it, especially because it's Thanksgiving. It's kind of a great Thanksgiving movie, so why not review it? If you don't already know, this movie is about Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, who's trying to get home to his family for Thanksgiving. Along the way, he encounters a lot of wacky circumstances and difficulties in trying to get home, and meets Del Griffith, played by John Candy, who at first they don't really like each other, and as the story goes on, they slowly start to get along. Let's start with the two lead actors. Steve Martin plays frustrated very well. He's able to really make you feel how frustrated and angry at the situation he is. You really feel for him. But you also feel for John Candy's character, who just gives an amazing performance in this movie as Del Griffith. First, you more get the wackiness and more of the goofiness of the character, but as the film goes along, you slowly peel back some of the layers and you realize what's really going on with this character, and you get the emotionality of it. And that's what I love about this performance. It's layered and it's complex, even though it's in a goofy road trip comedy. Honestly, if comedy performances should get nominated for Oscars, this is one of them. This is an amazing comedic performance. I love John Candy in this movie so much. And the way Steve Martin and John Candy work off each other is very well. Usually in, the type of scenarios where there's one goofy character and one straight character, like one less, the serious character, the straight man, usually you're supposed to identify with one more than the other. And in this movie, you really don't. You kind of identify with both of them equally, and that's what I love so much about this movie, is you care so much for both of them. It feels more realistic for a comedy, even though some of the events are obviously exaggerated for comedic purposes. And let's talk about the comedy in this movie. This is just such a funny movie. And it was directed by John Hughes, who, if you don't know, directed a lot of those 80s teen movies like Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And he does a fantastic job in this, especially in showing Steve Martin's character's thought process. There's a great scene where Steve Martin is recognizing John Candy, and you first see him look at John Candy the way he looks, and then you see Steve Martin's face, and you look again, and then John Candy is still in the same room, still in the same building, but then he has this taxi door and the same outfit he had on when Steve Martin saw him in the taxi. That is just brilliant directing, and it shows the thought process without saying anything visually. It's just showing us visually exactly what he's going through, and that is brilliant. Now, I do want to talk about the infamous rental car scene in this movie. If you don't know, Steve Martin has been going through all this stuff, and, he's on the end of his rope, and he rents a car to try to get home, and when he goes, the car isn't there. So he has to walk all the way back to the rental car place, which it's like a mile, and he goes up to the secretary, played by Edie McClurg, or like the receptionist, whoever she is, but she's played by Edie McClurg, who is the secretary in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and she plays it so delightfully, but also she's a little bit irritating, and that works so much for this character. And Steve Martin talks, and every sentence he says has an F word. It's F this, F that, F, 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 F. Now, you might be thinking, that's a little bit vulgar, that's a little bit rude. And yes, out of context, it is. But if you look at the context of this movie, there is not a single other F word in this entire film. And so it's so perfectly timed because it really shows you all the frustration this character is going through. It's at the end of his rope. It also makes it very funny, but also very poignant. It's probably the best use of profanity in a movie. I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles so much, but if I had to nitpick a few problems, it can sometimes be a little bit slow. A few of the actors who play Steve Martin's kids aren't that great. I mean, they're child actors. And some scenes just plain aren't that funny. But overall, this is just a fantastic movie. I love it so much. And that's why I'm going to give Planes, Trains, and Automobiles an A. Thank you for watching. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And don't forget to subscribe.